everyone, I'm Kelly Daniels of Cosmic Creative, and today I will be doing a technique tutorial on how I do a dirty pour versus a direct pour using resin on behalf of Resin Obsession. Now I've already gotten started here. I have chosen my colors and I'm making 2 sets of every color, so I've got 2 rows of cups here. And today I will be using Pinata color white alcohol ink. This is my favorite alcohol ink. You can get it in these larger bottles on Amazon, and it's very white and opaque, which I like. And it's an alcohol ink, which I also like. Then I'll be using a little bit, in these 2 cups, I'll be using a little bit of just regular acrylic paint from Michael's folk art brand. It's called Vintage Tea Rose. I'll be using just that color in these 2 cups, and then these 2 together to make a lighter version in these cups. Here I'm using a Pebeo Fantasy, Prisma Fantasy Rose Antique or Antique Pink Pebeo, another alcohol ink, I think, but this one's cool because it gives you all these fun, crazy cellular developments, which I love so much. And I'm also using a contrasting color of a chalk paint. Also, you can get this at Michael's. I get it in the little containers because you don't need much in resin, and you can try out a bunch of colors. But they sell chalk paint in these little ones too, and this one is called Nautical by Home Decor, Folk Art Home Decor Chalk Paint. I get this at Michael's also. And I'm also adding to this blue to make it a little bit darker, I'm actually using a powder pigment by Pearl EX. Powder pigment, this is just a gray, or silver, I'm sorry, silver, that I'm adding. So I'm going to fast forward through me mixing the resin and pouring it into the cups, so hang tight. Okay, so now we're ready to pour. I've got my 2 prepped canvases. These are cradled birch. Here I'll be doing our dirty pour, and here I'll be doing our direct pour. Just going to do very simple beginner technique so that you can see the difference and the different outcomes between the dirty versus the direct pour. So here we go. I'm going to start with the dirty pour over here. Remember, when you're pouring, when you're combining your colors, that the first color in is the last color out. So you have to build your colors in reverse, but no, nothing stays in, you know, everything moves, but in general, first thing in is the last thing out. Already start to see some of the cellular development happening in the cup. Some people like to give it a swirl here. I don't. I like to just leave it. Sometimes it depends on the viscosity of the pigments you've added and what it's done to the viscosity of the resin. These are just things you just have to figure out on your own and develop your own technique. But for me, I'm ready to pour. So here we go with the first pour. Now we'll move on to our direct pour. Remember, things move, so there's no rhyme or reason. Just pick a composition that you think you'd like to start with, and then go from there. In my direct pour, I'm going to go ahead and tilt. Now be careful. Just be careful to not lose too much of your cellular development. Sometimes tilting can help to bring out the cells, and sometimes it can actually disperse them a little too much and you start to lose some of your formation. But it really depends on the viscosity, again, of your resin after you've added your pigments. These are just things you'll learn over time. and you'll develop a feel for over time. But I'm going to go ahead and tilt now. Okay. Looks good. I'm going to let that settle for just a minute while I move back over to our dirty pour. Now I like where these were at. I think I'm done pouring. So the last step before you let it, leave it to dry is to torch it. This gets rid of any air bubbles in the surface, and trust me, you cannot get rid of air bubbles after the resin is dry. Don't even try. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to stop here and let these babies dry. Come back in about 6 to 8 hours, depending on your resin manufacturer, and check them out. Thanks.